Hello again, everyone. Continuing Cleveland week, I'm going to be looking at the Cavaliers of the NBA. Currently, they got a 51-29 record. I'm going to be talking about stats and all that kind of stuff before the Celtics game. Obviously, they rested LeBron James and Irving and Kevin Love, so the Celtics were easily going to win that game. And if they didn't, then the Celtics probably shouldn't be making the playoffs in the 7th or 8th seed because they're going to get destroyed if they do have to play the big three in the first round. So that was kind of a game that I don't really feel is necessary to talk about because they didn't have their full roster. So a win was going to be impressive if they managed to pull a win out without the big three. But obviously they lost by like 30 plus points, so I'm not even going to talk about that game. Looking at the Cavs, like I said, 51-29 record. They're currently second in the East, which is a great spot to be at, only behind the Warriors. Hawks. The Warriors are in the West. The Hawks in the East. The East is, as I've said in numerous past NBA posts about NBA teams, is the weaker conference between the two. But I do think the Cavaliers are the most promising team to make it to the finals, represent the East, and potentially beat whoever the West representative is going to be. I do think the Cavaliers have the best opportunity for any of the teams in the East to represent the East well in the finals and potentially win it, coming out of a weak conference for sure. They do play in a strong division, however, in the East. In the Central, they got the Bulls and the Bucks, as well as the Pacers and the Pistons. Obviously, the Pistons and the Pacers have had sub 500 seasons. The Bulls are now 48-32, and then the Bucks have had a 500 season at 40-40. So, they haven't run away with the division by any means. The Bulls have put up a solid fight to have the Central Division title between the Cavs or the Bulls. The Cavs, I think, are going to win it now with how many games are left in the season and what the records are. I think they've locked up the Central, so they've won that division. But it is a tough division in the East with the Bulls. The Bucks are improving; they're going to get better. The Pacers, and the Pacers only had a just below 500 season, 6-7 games below 500, so they can turn it around. The Pistons, I think, have a few more years before they'll be competitive in the division again, but it is a solid division with a lot of competitive teams in it. Looking forward to the playoffs and who their potential first-round opponents could be. They could be the Bucks, Celtics, Nets, or Pacers in round one. Nothing's been definitive yet, and who's going to be the 7th seed, who's going to be the 8th. So, who's going to be the 1st and 2nd. All the seeding still has to kind of be determined in the last few games of the season. So, looking at that and who might be the best opponent for them, the Bucks, I think, would be a solid opponent for them. Celtics, again, a young team, up and coming, so that could be a solid opponent. I think all of them are solid opponents. Same with the Nets or the Pacers. It's which team do I feel the Cavaliers are going to have the easiest road with and the easiest opportunity to beat. I think probably the Nets or the Pacers would be their easiest bet. I think the Bucks would probably be a solid opportunity for them. The team who I do think they might struggle against, of those four, the one they'll struggle the most against, I'm going to say, is the Celtics. Purely based on the fan support and the grit that the team has. The Celtics are now obviously know they can beat the Cavs without the big three. So if they can contain James and Love and get them into early foul trouble, and same with Irving, try to get them into early foul trouble and contain those guys, they could potentially have an upset if they play the Cavaliers in the first round. And again, with the fan support in the Celtics, it didn't look like the Celtics were going to make the playoffs at all a month ago, but now they're going to squeak in at a 7 or 8 seed. So I think the fan support, once they get those home games in Boston, is going to be immense. And it's important to have that 6th man on the court kind of thing, if you want to put it that way, for a team to be successful. If the fans are behind them and giving their support, then it's going to be an awesome series, and the Celtics could give the Cavs a run for their money. I don't think the Cavs are just going to run away with their first series. I don't think they're going to sweep whoever they play. I think it's going to be a tough series of any of those four potential opponents they're going to have. Looking specifically at the roster, obviously Kyrie Irving, LeBron James, and Kevin Love are their big three. Irving this past year, 22 points per game, 3.2 rebounds, 5.2 assists. LeBron James, 25.3 points per game with 6 boards, 7.4 assists. And then Kevin Love, 16.5 points per game, 9.9 boards, and 2.3 assists. So Love's numbers are obviously down from when he played in Minnesota, but if he's going to have a deep playoff run and win a championship, I think he's okay with that. He's still almost averaging a double-double, which is really impressive. And obviously when you have a guy like LeBron James, he's going to be expecting the ball, and any player is going to be okay having LeBron take the ball. You can't be selfish if you're playing with LeBron. And same with Kyrie Irving. You know, he's going to get his touches as well. So you got two guys on the team who combined almost average 50 points a game. Then you throw in Kevin Love. You got three guys that are averaging 65 plus points per game just based off of three guys. So then if you get your bench and your other two starters chipping in with 30 points a game, 95 plus, if your defense is solid, you're going to have a pretty successful season like they've had. So looking at other players, obviously Tristan Thompson, the Canadian, going to talk about him for a second, 8.4 points per game, 8.1 boards, 0.5 assists. So, you know, he chips in with what he needs to chip in, you know, a solid 8.8 board guy that you need on a team to round out your starting five kind of thing, and can play some solid minutes as well, and a guy that will still be with the team in a few years, you know, when James and Love and all those guys, maybe they decide to go to a different team or something like that, or Thompson is still going to be a young guy that you can continue to build around and is going to be with the organization for a while, and probably has no desire to leave if he's going to have the opportunity to play with Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving and LeBron James for the next few years. He's going to stay around for sure. Then you can look at, you know, Sean Marion and James Jones and those kind of guys. These are veteran guys that have playoff experience that's important to have in the playoffs. Cavs haven't been in the playoffs for a while, so it's important to have these veterans in your lineup that have playoff experience, so that you can make deep playoff runs, for sure. You have Kendrick Perkins, who obviously has joined the team. He's bounced around a lot throughout the season with different teams and getting waived and all that kind of stuff, so we'll see what kind of production he'll have throughout the playoffs. Josh Smith, obviously, is a great pickup for the team. 12.7 points per game, 3.6 boards, 2.5 assists. So it's important to have him in your lineup as long as he can continue to keep producing in the playoffs. I think he's kind of the dark horse. I think with the Cavaliers, you have James and Love and Irving, they get all the attention, so then there's solid players that kind of get mixed in the shovel. But I think Josh Smith is going to be the cornerstone, I want to say, kind of thing to get them into the playoffs. I think if he doesn't produce well, they're going to have a hard series, but I think if he plays the way he has all season and chips in with his 10 plus points per game, then the Cavs are going to have a solid playoff performance. Also, they got Mozgov for down low, you know, 10.5 points per game, 6.9 boards, so he's a good guy to get in some points, good guy on the glass, important to have players like that. And then you have Anderson Varejao as well, 9.8 points per game, 6.5 boards, 1.3 assists, so those are solid stats as well. Like I said, a lot of these players do get lost in the shovel playing behind Kyrie Irving, LeBron James, and Kevin Love, but those three aren't going to be the only things that a team needs to make the playoffs. You're going to have the rest of your lineup be successful, so hopefully those guys can continue to produce, and the Cavs can have a deep playoff run and make some impact in the playoffs. I know Cleveland's going to be excited to have playoff basketball again, so good luck to the Cavs in the playoffs. I am going to be going on vacation for a few days, so you won't see my final post of Cleveland Week till Saturday, where I will be talking about the Browns. The NFL draft is obviously coming up in just a couple weeks, so we'll see what kind of happens. If the Browns make any moves, they do have those 2 first-round picks. So it'll be a few days before you hear from me again, but I'll finish off Cleveland Week on Saturday with my look on the Browns. Thanks for listening in on my chat about the Cavaliers today. You can follow me on Twitter at GHAM614, and I'll talk to you at the end of the week. Bye.